Hello, and welcome back to What is Cyrus reading this week? This is week 5. Small update, when school does come back around, I'll be uploading every 2 weeks instead of every week. So, yeah. So, this week we're not going to have all comics. We're still going to have the normal 7 comics, for one for each day. But also we're going to have 2 games. Because the library I go to, Midpoint Library, you can rent games at. And I rented 2 of them. Up first, we got The Last Kids of Earth and The Staff of Doom. This game is really fun. It's if you've ever, it's not like Metroid, but it's like if you took Castlevania and put it top down. That's what this game is. So essentially, you're running around through these dungeons and areas, and you're just attacking everything. They're shorter for playable characters. 2 have range, 2 have close attacks. Huge bosses. It's just really fun, and I recommend playing this game. This is a 8.9 out of 10. Next up, this game is stupidly difficult. Alex Kidd in Miracle World. You die in 1 hit, so that's great to start off. Second off, you have short range attacks as your main attack. You get these rings, but as soon as you die, you get rid of them, so yeah. I did enjoy this game. It was a pleasable challenge. Inside, there's a different cover that has like classic art, like what you see on the Sega Master System, and it included an instruction booklet like old Sega games that tells you everything like the story, the controls, the enemies, the monsters. So it was really reminiscent of the old classic Sega games since it's a remake of the first Alex Kidd. So those games it's fun, difficult. It's a good match in between. I recommend it, 7.5 out of 10. Now starting with the comics. DC meets Hanna-Barbera. This one you've got Booster Gold, Flintstones, Green Lantern and Space Ghost, Adam Strange and Future Quest, and Suicide Squad and Banana Splits. And each of those has extra ones in them, like shorter stories. And this is a fun ride. Some of the stories seemed really long, some of them seemed really short, but overall it was really fun to read about it and see how these 2 characters interacted, how they would interact with each other. The one that definitely showed the most character depth was Green Lantern and Space Ghost. And I give this a solid 8 out of 10. Next up, we got New Superman, Made in China. This is Kong Keenan, and he is the new Superman of China. After standing up to a supervillain to save the person he was bullying, he becomes Superman by the government. And you may go, bullying? Well, why is that? It's because Kong Keenan is a bully. He calls fat people chubby, he makes fun of people, and when he joins the Justice League, he keeps referring to the Man of Bats, who's the Chinese Batman, as really fat. This character, I've seen him, he grows throughout the book, which is really good, and he has some character growth with which you find out about the villain here and what happens. But when it starts off, he's just such a jerk, and he's not likable until like the 3rd or 4th comic in here. So maybe read it. I enjoyed it after everything happened, but it's just, you really hate the guy at first. I give this a 8.5 out of 10. Next, we got Superman, Bizarroverse. This is the series where Superman revealed his identity, so everyone knows he's Clark Kent. And this one starts off with Superboy, Jonathan Kent, and he's talking to one of his friends who's an alien, which you learn about in a previous story. And what are they doing? They're exploring the multiverse through like this weird machine that lets them see the multiverse without interacting. And Jonathan Kent sees Boy Zorro, who's Bizarro's kid with Lois Lane of the Bizarroverse. He's like, oh, what's that? And they touch hands, the machine explodes. Well, not explodes, but like pushes him out of them. So Jonathan's like, huh. And Boy Zorro comes, and he's calling his dad like a jerk, and his dad's really mean to him. And so they go, and it's a big brawl, and it's a really fun story. And then there's 2 short stories, well, not short stories, but 2 stories at the end. One where it's Superman's birthday, and one where they're renovating the house, the old Ma and Pop's house, because, Superman was raised in Kansas, I think it was. And they're renovating that house because they're selling it to someone else, because now they're living in the city. This is a good story. I enjoyed it. I'm not a huge fan of Superman in general, but I really enjoyed this story. This I give a 7.5 out of 10. Pick it up if you see it, maybe. Next one is from my favorite Spider-Man series of all time, Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. This, there's about 3 different sagas. For the first 2, it's the X-Men school wanting Annie Mae Parker to join the school. And if you're asking who Annie Mae Parker is, she's exclusive to the Renew Your Vows verse. And Renew Your Vows is where events play differently, where Civil War didn't happen. So either Iron Man wasn't made to sign the Superhero Registration Act and make it all a big deal, or Cap just signed it immediately and they agreed. We don't know the full story, just know that it didn't go through. And that's why Peter didn't have to reveal his identity and get rid of his marriage in one more day. That's what led to Renew Your Vows. And they have a kid named Annie Mae Parker who has spider powers. MJ has spider powers in this universe as well because she has a suit that taps into Peter's powers so she can share it with him. So, the X-Men story, and then there's one where MJ gets a Venom suit, and the final one is Normie Osborn, who is the son of Harry Osborn, and his mom's word that he'll take up after his grandfather and father, who were the Green Goblins. This story is really good. I'm just a huge fan of the Renew Your Vows universe in general. It's a great story. I love it. This one is a solid 9.5 out of 10. Pick the Renew Your Vows, any of them up. Next up, we got SpiderGwen, Long Distance. This one's kind of a collection of short stories. It's SpiderGwen 14-15, SpiderGwen Annual 1, and Wolverine Annual 1. SpiderGwen 14 is a Thanksgiving special. SpiderGwen 15 is a Christmas special. SpiderGwen Annual number 1 is a collection of short stories, kind of explaining some stuff. And Wolverine Annual number 1 is where Spider-Gwen and Wolverine swap bodies. And it, mind you, it's not Wolverine like Logan. It's Wolverine X-23 Laura Kinley. And it's from my favorite Wolverine run, All New Wolverine, with Gabby and Jonathan. And it's just amazing. And this kind of tapped into that potential, so I really enjoyed it. This one, it's not the best. It's not the worst. It kind of just explores the Spider-Gwen universe. A little short for my opinion, $16 for 4 issues. You can just buy the 4 issues for $4 a piece, about the same price. So, I mean, this one I give it like a 8.5 out of 10. Maybe pick it up if you see it. More than likely just go to the library and get it. Next one I was really excited to read, Miss Marvel Team Up. So, classic story was Marvel Team Up. And then the star of that was Spider-Man, and he teamed up with countless characters, ran for 200 some odd issues. Well, they decided to bring that back. But instead of having Spider-Man, because he's kind of used out, just put him over to the side a little, they decided to use Miss Marvel, who is an amazing character. The first 10 volumes of hers were amazing. Magnificent Miss Marvel is great. On the Champions, she's great. If you see her on a comic, pick it up and read it. It's pretty good no matter what, 'cause she's in there. So, this one is split into 2 main stories. That's 6 issues, so it's 3 issues per story, 3 issues per story. The first one is where her and Spider-Man swap bodies, and you'll see how that happens. How ironic that Spider-Man is part of the first story, meaning he was the one from Marvel Team Up. So they wanted to kind of ease in the familiarity and pull him away slowly with the next story. So after that one, you go to Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, and Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers. If you know anything about her, she used to be Miss Marvel until Camilla Khan took her name and she became Captain Marvel. Well, something strange about what's happening now. Kree technology is being stolen, but by who? And when they catch up, it's the original Captain Marvel, but didn't he die? Looks like you'll have to read this to find out. Solid story. Great. A little wordy at some points, but other than that, it's a really good story. I give this a 9.5 out of 10. Pick this up in singles or whatever you want, because that story's amazing. Next and finally, Invincible Iron Man, The 5 Nightmares. So before anything, I want to get something out of the way. So I was looking at this, and I noticed, they got like this weird glossy page at the start. And I flipped to the back, and they got one here too. And it's the back of the book. And I realized, they just took this shell, because it must have just been a shell that they took, someone ripped the pages out of. They took another trade of Iron Man, the Five Nightmares, and they just put it right in there. So this is pretty much, it's the same book, obviously, but it's not the same shell. And this page is, I don't know if it's official, but it's like a little flimsier. So it's just like, that's weird. Just something I thought I'd bring up because it was just weird. It's nothing wrong with this, just a strange thing happening. So this story revolves around Ezekiel Stane, who is the son of Obadiah Stane. And if you don't know who Obadiah Stane is, he's this big guy, ironmonger. He played a big part when Tony Stark was a drunk from Demon in a Bottle, and he dies. Obadiah Stane is dead. He got exploded because he lost and he just couldn't take that loss, so he died. Well, in this story, Ezekiel Stane, like so many other people, believes his father was such a good hero and Iron Man killed him. Oh, we gotta get revenge. Ugh. So, the story starts off pretty well though. So it's these people in Tanzania, and they're there, and this girl just got a phone. And so she's looking at it, enjoying it. Boom, a guy walks out of a car, he gets like Iron Man gauntlets, explodes, kills everyone. So you're like, what's happening? And if you read this, you'll find out. But in all fairness, it's not that great a read. I don't really enjoy it. It was really wordy. Like if I flipped to a random page, okay, besides that page, because apparently they decided to spite me there. Yeah, it's a lot of words on single pages. It's like, if I'm reading a comic, I don't want to read a paragraph at a time. That was my problem with Nick Spencer's run of All New Captain America, where Sam Wilson was Cap. All New Captain America was by Rick Remender, and that was good. Sam Wilson Captain America was by Nick Spencer, and that one was just so wordy. Because if I'm reading a trade, I should be able to knock it out in about an hour, if that. But that one, you'd have to sit down and read and read and read. It was such a drag. That's why I'm personally not a huge fan of that run. Nothing against Sam, nothing against Captain America. It was just Nick Spencer's writing style I didn't like. But back to this. I enjoyed it mostly, but it was kind of, the only problem was it was really wordy. So I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Maybe pick it up if you see it. I mean, I guess. And that's all I have to say about that. I hope you have had a great week. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next week.